Alrighty, we are back again with another Matic Mondays. This is your guy Travel Matic, and I have my wonderful co-host Tiffany,
Hey guys.
and we have a great special guest here. I have been tracking this young lady down since last year. We have Miss Jazlyn Markel Ferguson.
Hello.
Welcome,
Thanks for
Jazlyn.
having me.
Yes. Glad to have you on the show. Welcome everyone who is a return viewer and the new ones. Definitely hit the like and subscribe button. Here we talk about all travel, all remote work, digital nomad, how to transfer your skills, how to just figure it out. You know, you're trying to figure it out. You're in a call center. You're at home with the kids. You're trying to just figure out how can I work online, and this is what we are here for. Or if you want to travel like me and work abroad, you know, I'm here for that too. So we're going to get on a great topic that I found maybe a year ago. Um, I think I saw this ad on Instagram or something. It was like paid relocation, 5,000, 10,000 rental assistance, stipends, no taxes. And I'm like, oh my goodness, what is this? And it was like Tulsa Remote is one of them. And I was like, let me look into this. Started digging, and I found someone on Instagram that was, took advantage of the program. And I said, okay, I need to find her. I need to track her down. I need to sweet talk her in her DMs and see if I can get her on my show. And so my sweet talking didn't work, but eventually she broke and she came on the show. And this is Jazlyn, who is the recipient of that reward or that program. So, Tiffany,
Yes.
what do you think about it? Actually, let me tell the full story is
Mhm.
I tried to get her in the DMs like back in December. I told Tiffany about it. Of course, it went over Tiffany's head like everything I always say. Then a few months later, she's like,
Really?
"Hey, this girl here is about that program you were with, the program you
That's not
told me
true.
about remote."
What happened was, you guys know I'm an avid TikTok watcher, specifically when it comes to travel, remote work, because I'm looking for stuff for our show. I'm looking for information to provide to you guys. And I come across Jazlyn on TikTok, and it was about she got something crazy, 10,000 to go to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I'm like, whoa. And I watched her TikTok, went through her videos, and was completely blown away and intrigued by this. Looks like an amazing opportunity that she took advantage of. So that's where I want to start. Jazlyn, tell us about yourself and tell us, how did you stumble across Tulsa Remote?
Yeah, well, I'll start by saying no sweet talking was needed, and I felt so bad when so much time had gone by since the first time that you guys had reached out. But I just, life can be that way, and a little bit of it was because of some of the things I had going on with this program. So basically,
Ooh.
a while back, I'd say probably before the pandemic. Yeah, it was definitely before the pandemic. I was just in a rut in life. I was, kind of feeling stuck in many ways. I was happy because I had actually at that time stepped out to do freelance graphic design, digital marketing, web design, and some of those things. And I was doing that full time. So on the surface, I was like, okay, I'm kind of living the dream. But at the same time, I had lived in Orlando, Florida for over 15 years at that point, and I just felt like I see the same palm trees, the same scenery, and I really just kind of wanted change in my life. And so I thought, now's the time. I was thinking, the work that I was doing, I could do anywhere. So I need to take full advantage of that. So I just started randomly Googling one night, one late night, couldn't sleep, watching Netflix, the whole insomnia, just staying up, trying to figure out my life. type of thing. And I just started Googling like pay you to move, or even companies that would pay you to relocate, because
Yeah.
at the time I had been doing freelance for a while, but I wasn't opposed to the idea of returning to a corporate job. You know, freelance is great, but if a company can fund my life, I'm all about it.
Yeah.
So I was just, looking at jobs that will pay you to relocate, companies, opportunities, and I came across a couple of different articles that showed locations that would pay you to relocate. And so, in some of those articles, they had a couple of different locations. And I basically just kind of looked at each of the programs and asked myself, realistically, where would I want to move? And looked at some of the benefits and the perks. And for me, the Tulsa Remote program really seemed to be the best fit. So I applied, and they do have like an application process. You do have to do like an interview and submit some information. But I did that, and I was super stoked. I got in, and so they told me that I could go ahead and move to Tulsa. Again, I did this before the pandemic. Then the pandemic happened, so my move kind of went on hold. So I didn't actually move out until last year. It's actually been exactly a year. Last May, I moved out here. So that's how.
So you're still in Tulsa.
I am still in Tulsa. Yes. So I actually bought a house here, which
no
sounds really crazy. But so this is a little bit of how the program works. So there's two options for the Tulsa Remote program. You can go there, or come here, I should say. You can come here, and if you stay like in an apartment and rent, you go through the program where they give you like a few thousand at the start, right, to help you move, get acclimated and all that. And then they give you a monthly stipend of $500 per month. And then I think at the end, they give you like a couple of thousand, like at the end of a year mark, because the program does only require you to live here 1 year. And then you can do whatever you want. But of course, their hope is that some people will stick around.
Right.
But then the other option, which was interesting because they introduced this while I was kind of in my waiting period of COVID, and just waiting to be able to move out here. They introduced a new option where they were like, actually, if you buy a home, we'll give you the $10,000 as a lump sum. And so I was like, interesting. And I thought to myself, that was so 2021, I turned 30. There were a lot of just like kind of, I try not to be a person that's like, oh, I want to hit this milestone at this age.
Yeah.
But I always did want to I did desire owning a home, by the time I hit 30. And so I thought this could be a really cool opportunity where, the cost of living in Tulsa and the prices of some of the homes on the market were much more reasonable and within my price range than if I was to try to buy a home, say when I was still living in Orlando, Florida, and try to get a home that way. The bang for my buck was definitely a lot more here. So I always wanted to do a home. I'm an avid HGTV watcher, so I wanted, somewhat of a fixer-upper, and I thought this could be a really cool opportunity. So I decided to go that route. Which is kind of ultimately why I'm still here, is not necessarily that I would move immediately, but I do have plans to stay here a while because I am still kind of renovating this home. And my hope is that, no matter what my future plans are, if I move, I'm kind of in a place where I like to move around, so I probably will. But this now becomes an option to either sell it and, of course, make that profit. But also to rent it out as an Airbnb. So this program, when I say this program has changed the kind of trajectory of my life, it really has impacted in a big
way. So guys, I'm excited that Jazlyn is here for that very reason of what she said. She went from Googling, being in a rut, not sure what she was going to do with her life. And basically, I'm sure she was praying and manifesting some new opportunities, stumbles across information about this opportunity to be relocated and get paid. And then as she's sitting in a waiting period for her transition, is basically waiting for all her blessings to be bestowed upon her, because once she actually took the leap and moved, things started to fall in place for her. And so now she's living there with a home with additional opportunity for additional equity, another form of income. So had she stayed in Orlando in that rut, and just said, well, this is where I'm comfortable with, and let's do that, she would not have the life that she has just 1 year later. So Jazlyn, I want to ask you, what did your family say when you decided, I'm assuming your family all lives in Orlando, that you said, I'm moving to Oklahoma out of all places?
Yeah. So yeah, a lot of my family, especially my immediate family, they do still live in Florida, in that Central Florida area. But they weren't necessarily that surprised. I did have, a few family members that were more concerned than anything. So, I don't. While I technically do have some family that is in Oklahoma. It's not family that I'm super close with. So, the idea of safety and just like going to a random place, understandably, they had their questions and their concerns. But I was part of the kind of wave of when buying cars on the internet was not really a thing. And I bought my first car through Carvana, and people were like, you're buying a car through the internet without seeing it? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to do it. We'll see what happens. So at this point, I think some of the kind of big or bold moves that I have made doesn't necessarily surprise my family that much. And ultimately, they were really happy for me because they knew, once I explained to them some of the things like, hey, this is an opportunity for me to, get this essentially free money, right? Even before I decided that I was definitely going to buy a home here as, a potential investment in property in the future, I told them, even if I went through the program of having an extra $500 a month, the impact that could have on my life, to be able to invest in things and pursue things that I've always wanted to do. But up until this point, it was always mostly, kind of just living for my job, paycheck to paycheck. If I took a vacation, like it wasn't really a vacation. But, I wanted the flexibility to be able to explore and to do things. And so a program like this, I think, is great because, again, whether you go the route of buying a home, they give you a lump sum, or even if they're paying you a stipend, it's kind of like paying you to have this adventure and to be able to have that extra additional income to be able to do those things. I remember even saying like, okay, if they're going to give me an extra $500 a month, like, what could that be before I purchased a home? And now that's, where most of that $10,000 has gone into. But before that, again, when I was thinking of even doing the more month to month process, I thought, that's an opportunity for me to say, where do I want to travel each month? Or, what do I want to do with that extra $500? Do I want to donate it? What do I want to invest in? What do I want to give to? What do I want to do with that? And that in and of itself, I think when my family really understood that, they were totally behind it and excited for me to have that opportunity.
Yeah. So it looks like Adrian has your Instagram pulled up.
Yep.
Yes. Let's dig a little bit more into the details while I scroll through your Instagram here. Now, because you said that it was relatively it sounds like it was relatively quick. Like you just signed the application. Fill out the application. You just put, I guess, what you I think is a certain criteria for is the type of role or industry you're in, correct?
So they do want people who are working remotely. So you do need to already have a remote job before applying, I believe. And again, this was a while back when I applied, so I don't know if anything has changed, but last I checked it was the same. But yes, they do require that you have a remote job. So a lot of the people who are applying and do eventually get through are a lot of people who work in tech or have, are in, say, like graphic design. But you do see a common thread of there are a lot of people who are either entrepreneurs or in tech because those, tend to be the type of folks that have remote jobs. But, there's definitely a variety of different people who apply and have gotten in. but yeah, it was a very quick turnaround for me. Again, I can't speak on what it is now, but for me, shortly after I submitted my application, they were in contact with me via email, and it all moved so quickly. Within probably the next couple of weeks is when I had to submit certain documents, or then I had my interview. My interview was with one individual, and it was probably about 30 minutes. So it wasn't anything that was too extensive. And I think at the time they had mentioned that they typically would also do some sort of a panel conversation, but there was a lot going on with COVID and things like that. So maybe I doubt that I only had the one interview. I do think there's typically two. But yeah, I just had to basically tell them, what I do and what kind of my plans were moving here. I will say, I think it definitely helped. At the time, I was, like I said, full-time freelancer. So the entrepreneur aspect definitely didn't hurt. And also my desire to want to give back to the community. Tulsa has a lot of history, especially with, I think last year marked 100 years of the 1921 Tulsa massacre, where Black Wall Street was burned down to the ground. And so with that, there are a lot of revitalization efforts there, specifically for, Black folks here, but also looking at, I've heard the term, kind of tossed around of, changing Black Wall Street into Black Tech Wall Street. So there's a lot of conversations around that. And so it definitely, if you're in a tech field, I'm sure that gives you a leg up to be able to get approved and come here for the program, because they want to do that.
Yeah, I reached out to a guy. I don't know if he's the leader of that Black Tech in Tulsa initiative or whatever. Very well-spoken guy. And when I followed him, I saw he was following you once. He always follows. I would like to talk with him. I heard us. I think he did a TED Talks event or something like that. Very, very sharp guy.
I know exactly who you're talking about. Yeah, I definitely follow him. And just seeing some of the programs and the events that are held here has just been really cool to see the efforts that are really going into trying to look at strategically rebuilding, Black Wall Street, but how can there be this new emphasis on both tech and entrepreneurship?
And then they got a digital graphic designer, digital marketing person that happened to relocate there in you. So it kind of feels like you were divinely pushed to move to Tulsa when you opened yourself up to the possibility of relocating.
Yeah, definitely.
Right where you're supposed to be, if you think about it in that sense.
I definitely feel that way. I definitely feel like I'm right where I need to be. There are certain ideas and projects that I've wanted to take on that I feel like this is the time and the place, because again, with my digital marketing background and being in a space that now has this desire to want to grow and build in tech spaces and within spaces of empowering other people to become entrepreneurs, I feel like there's so much that I can do here. And so that's another reason why I haven't, left and I've, gone past the year mark, is because, again, with the pandemic, when I first moved here, everybody's wearing a mask. We're all taking precautions, rightly so. But, that did, in a sense, kind of take away a little bit from the opportunities I had to really network and get to know people. So I almost feel like I'm just now getting started. But it's super exciting.
So are you still freelancing now?
So I do freelance on the side, but I was fortunate enough to recently take on a position as an inclusive marketing manager at Twitter. So I am still in marketing, working for a big tech company. But yeah, so that's been really great as well. The work that I do at Twitter is specific to, really elevating different content creators and publishers from historically excluded communities. And so again, I almost feel like everything is just the stars have aligned,
Yeah.
and everything that I'm doing is really what I'm meant to do. And so I was able to, take that job. It's completely remote, so within the, still being within
Yeah.
the guidelines of the program, I was able to make that transition, and that's been really great.
That's awesome. That is awesome.
Yes. More about that program. That 10,000,
Yeah.
is it a grant or is it tax money?
It is taxed. So, that's the one.
Yeah.
So they do give you your, what is it, the 1099 miscellaneous at the end of the year.
Lord have mercy.
Yeah.
But I will say, for me, and the way I look at it is you really have to be strategic, I think, going into how you're going to use it and how it's going to benefit you. So for me, part of the kind of obstacles in home ownership was the fact that I didn't necessarily have a down payment, ready to go, and that the housing market in Orlando, Florida was, definitely going to be more difficult for me to buy a home that would be of any value, or that I would be able to assess, okay, this is in a good area, this will actually gain, or increase in value as the years go on and things like that. It was just harder for me to do that there because the prices were higher, and things like that. And so, so the way that I looked at it is, even if this is going to be taxed, even if this, is in that way, it was really giving me the money up front to be able to make that kind of dream a reality. And so the way that the program works is you don't get the money prior to buying the home. So I know that that is still going to be an obstacle for people. So I want to be very clear, like, you don't get the money prior to buying the home. But it does change things knowing that a couple weeks after making the purchase, that you'll get that money back.
Yeah.
And so, So when I moved here, I knew, I was like, I didn't want to worry about transporting my car that I had. So I was like, oh, this is perfect. I will just sell my car prior to moving here. I'll have that money that will really help me to have some, money that I can use to actually make this a reality as my down payment. And then I'll know that, just a short period after doing that, the program is going to give me this $10,000. And then I can use that to go ahead, buy a new car while I'm here, but then also invest the rest of that money back into this home. And so, and having that money up front was really just, I've never had $10,000 just like suddenly appear into my bank account.
Damn.
Yeah.
And that was just such a wonderful thing, because again, on the flip side, you do have to budget and be mindful of the fact that this is, taxed money. But at the same time, being able to say, okay, there are certain things that I need to do to get this home to where it needs to be, things that, I wouldn't have been able to do. Let's say I was still in Orlando, Florida, had scrounged together, saved and saved and saved to be able to buy a home, then I still would have been just kind of like starting from nothing. But I had a couple thousand where I could say, okay, like, let me go ahead and do a couple of things that will make this, home was a bit of a fixer upper to actually be, livable, getting some things in the bathroom redone, and getting the floors refinished so that I could really feel like, okay, I'm starting with a clean, literally clean, but also just clean. And so, those were things that I really valued to be able to do, going into it, so I could really attack it. And now it's, taking one project at a time, but being able to say, okay, here's a couple thousand for, the floors and to repair some of the walls and these things. That was something that, just the position that I was in, and where my finances were, I didn't have, a couple of thousand that I would have been able to do that otherwise. So for me, having that kind of money up front to be able to make those key decisions, and then, paying on things on the back end was really, really good for me in getting that momentum going. And yes, here you can see me, my mom, bless her heart, she came with me for a couple of months when I first moved here, and we, did some things around the house. This is us tearing down the old fireplace and, or the mantle, and kind of redoing it so that it was nice and finished. And filling in all the cracks and all that stuff.
That's cool that your mom came for a few months. Wow, look at the after. That's
Yeah.
really cool.
So yeah, I definitely tell people you've got to weigh the pros and the cons. One other thing people will ask, they'll ask about, is it taxable money or is it a grant? They'll also ask about, um, but how do you like living in Tulsa and things
Yeah.
like that.
Oh, yeah.
And again, I think that definitely goes in the path of like, you have to weigh the pros and the cons. I really knew that I wanted to buy a home and to be able to have this kind of flexibility to do a lot of things. And so it was worth it for me. Is it like New York City here? No. And so if you're a person who's constantly wants, city life and nightlife and things constantly happening, it may be an adjustment.
Yeah.
Even though I lived in Orlando where there was lots of things to do, I've still always at my core been kind of a homebody. If there's an event, sure, every now and then I'll go to it, but I'm not somebody who constantly needs that to thrive.
Right.
So, for me, even adjusting to a smaller city has been, fine and well worth it still to me.
How did you build your network of friends in Tulsa?
Yeah, so that's still a work in progress for sure. But one of the things that I did was I took to social media and I started looking at different people who were using like hashtag Tulsa Remote to find other people within the program. But also looking at just different people who were posting about their experiences. And so I was able to find there's a group called Melanin Vibes, which is a group of women of all different backgrounds, but we're all, women of color. And just to be able to have brunch once a month. And I think I've missed a couple of brunches, but so if they see this, don't hate me, I'm coming back.
Yeah.
But they've been really great. I've met so many great people through that program, and some of them are also in the Tulsa Remote program, but some of them have been in Tulsa their whole lives. Some of them recently moved here. And so it's just really been great to have that kind of support system of other kind of women who are in similar like life circumstances as me. And we all support and uplift each other. The other thing I will say is through the actual Tulsa Remote program, it's really great because they host different meet and greets and programs.
Yeah.
So again, my experience, especially when I first moved here, was a little bit muddled in the sense that the pandemic was happening. I didn't go to certain events. I missed out on certain things. They, really scaled them down at that time. Some things were virtual. But they continue to have events, and I look at the calendar almost every weekend to see like what Tulsa Remote events are there. The TikTok video that I put out about my experience with Tulsa Remote. A lot of that footage is from a downtown tour that the Tulsa Remote program had. So all the people that you kind of see crossing the street with me, they're all a part of the program. I was able to meet them, talk to them. And that's been really great as well. And that's another thing that's so great about moving somewhere with a program, right? You're not completely on your own. At the end of the day, there's this whole program behind me where they're constantly throwing events. They want us all to get to know each other. And so that's really great. I didn't have to feel like I moved here completely cold turkey, trying to make friends. That's been a great resource as well.
Yeah. And it looks like Adrian's showing your TikTok channel. And this is actually, guys, the video that I saw and sent to Adrian and said, we need to get her on the show. Like, this is a must. We do a lot of expats who are living abroad, but we haven't done a lot of people who relocated within the U.S. So this is a first, but also a great opportunity to share a unique kind of way to do it. Now, was Tulsa Remote the only relocation effort that you saw, or was it the first that you saw and that you looked into?
So it wasn't necessarily the first. I definitely looked at a couple. When I first found it, it was on one of those kind of listicle articles that had a couple of different other places. But I really did look into what it was that they were offering, and
Mhm.
also location wise, where did I want to actually live.
Yeah.
So I know there's programs, say there's one in West Virginia. But I actually grew up in Virginia, not West Virginia, but I grew up in Virginia when I was a child. And so, but I've never really had a desire to live in West Virginia. So
Right.
seeing that, I was kind of like, okay, I know they've got some incentives and things, but that just really didn't interest me. And so I know there are other programs, like I think there's one that's in Arizona that says something along the lines of you get up to like $10,000 worth of perks and benefits, but they're not actually handing you that as like cash, like they're not giving you that money in the same way that Tulsa Remote did. So it was part looking at the benefits and the perks. I liked that Tulsa Remote's emphasis was on, trying to find people who are, entrepreneurs and kind of in tech. That was really the vibe I was getting. And I liked that they were, whether you do the buy a home and get a lump sum, or you get the monthly stipend and you are renting an apartment, I liked that they just gave you money.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, yes, give me the
Yeah.
money. I will spend it in your city, but at least I'll have the freedom to choose how I do that. Where some of the other programs, it's a little bit more specific. Like some of them, they'll say, okay, like you'll get a voucher for this and a voucher for that. Or some of them will have incentives to buy a home. But it definitely wasn't, okay, and we'll give you $10,000. It was things like, oh, we'll help with
home buyer assistance or something.
Yes, exactly. So to my knowledge, this one was like just a really great mixture of, of having certain perks and benefits, but also just saying, hey, here's the money, yours.
Right. Actually, that's a great segue into an article, and I'm sure there are tons of them throughout the U.S. But I found an article that had like 8 of them. This was supposed to be for 2022. And you should be able to see it. Place to pay you to move there in 2022. I don't know if they have this in a certain order, but they had Maine as number one. Why am I getting feedback? Can y'all hear me pretty good?
So,
Okay. We have Maine. They have tax credits. 2, they have a remote worker grant, offers up to $7,500 in relocation.
That's not 10,000.
Yeah, no, it's not. They have Alaska, which they will give you $1,600, and a few like grants and tax incentives.
Not 10,000.
No, it's not.
$1,600 to move to Alaska. That's it.
Yes.
I think I looked at that one, and that was exactly my thought. I was like, that's too far. I don't know.
It's literally dark. 99%, like 99.9% of the year. Like, no.
Yeah. You got Newton, Iowa, which offers up to 10,000 cash in new home buyers. And they'll throw in a welcome package up over $3,000.
You don't know what's in there. It's probably a box of coupons.
Right.
Free gym membership and stuff like that. They consider that, welcome package type stuff.
Right. Free car wash. Dog sitting and stuff.
Carpet cleaning, like.
And then you got the big Tulsa. Remote work incentives, 1,000 relocation, and that $1,000 housing stipend you was mentioning. But you said they just did the mortgage one.
Yeah, so they've got the 2 options there, and also I'll say with the program, they do also have things like they have a whole list on the website of places, apartment complexes where you can live, where you'll also like get a discount for being a Tulsa Remote member. So definitely, there's more than just them giving you that stipend to be able to, to help with rent. They also, a lot of the places will discount your rent for just being a Tulsa Remote member. So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah. With the housing, because I saw you when I was looking at your Instagram, you said that you use it for the mortgage, and I didn't see it here. So then I was like, okay. And then they spoke about how the housing is inexpensive. And I think I looked it up just briefly. I think they said the median house cost was 100,000. And I was like, wow, I haven't seen 100,000 because I'm here in Atlanta. So Atlanta is probably at 400,000 for a house here, median cost. So that 10,000 can look pretty good for as a down payment.
They got Chattanooga on the list. Well, how much is Chattanooga giving?
Chattanooga is they have a program called the Geek Move program. It is targeting computer developers. So I guess I don't know if it's exclusively computer developers, probably people, engineers, scientists and stuff like that. But it's only $1,250 in relocation expenses. $1,250 in relocation expenses and $10,000 forgivable mortgage. I like Chattanooga too. It's a real cool town.
Huh? That's literally like 5 minutes away from me right there. I'm looking at that one.
Hamilton, Ohio.
Yeah, that's like 5 minutes away from me. How much are they giving? $10,000? I'm going to look it up. I'm going to apply.
Up to 10,000 to college grads to relocate.
Oh, college grad. Well, I graduated in 2020. Does that count?
Yeah, you're a college grad.
I am a college grad as of 2020.
And they are looking for graduates past 7 years in STEM program.
And I'm in STEM. I work in technology.
Perfect.
I'm literally going to apply for it. You live too close. You didn't say how far away you had to live.
I was going to say some of them might have a proximity sort of restraint there, but
I'm call a family member and use their address.
Right.
Relocate back home.
And you have Lincoln, Kansas. They are actually offering free land.
They have to. It's Lincoln, Kansas.
Yeah. For you to build or do whatever, create a farm, whatever. And then you have international places. You have Chile.
Really?
With the Startup Chile program, amplifies the opportunities for tech workers. If you're a tech entrepreneur, the program offers you 80,000 equity free, in addition to work visas, training, and office space.
That one sounds so cool. I've seen that one and I'm like, wow, that one's, if I ever have a tech startup I'm trying to do, that's, I'm out of here.
Wow. Yeah. But it's not just entrepreneurs, it also just said people working in tech, right?
Well, I looked it up briefly. It's more people who are trying to create companies centered around tech. All the tech startups that we talk about all the time.
Yeah, $80,000.
$80,000.
Jazlyn, you want to go in and create an app, move to Chile?
Let's do it. I'm down.
Yes, they're actually on Instagram too. Startup Chile. I looked on it through that link.
Going there right now.
And
I wonder how long you have to stay.
I had to do baby steps. First Tulsa.
Right.
Yes, conquer Tulsa first.
Yes.
You have Albany, Switzerland. They will give you 25,000, but there's a little catch to this. You have to be 45 or younger, and you have to stay in this little beautiful picturesque town for 10 years.
Oh no.
Too much of a commitment.
Yeah, that's a huge commitment.
Yeah. 10 years.
But
And
yeah,
they give you. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, now you see what I was kind of all the options I was weighing out. And Tulsa to me just felt like the best option for me, especially again.
Clearly.
The $10,000, but also knowing like I knew that even if I didn't necessarily love Tulsa, that like I could explore like going to Texas or just that I was in a place that wasn't completely in the middle of nowhere. Like I think the one place that was Arkansas.
Yeah, in Arkansas where they give not in Arkansas, Kansas where they give you the land that they have to give you because there's nothing else in Kansas.
Right. I knew that a city like Tulsa, I knew that also Oklahoma City's, an hour drive. So I felt like worst case scenario, I wouldn't be too isolated in terms of finding things to do. But Tulsa really surprised me. There's just, so many things that I wasn't even expecting that I found here that I'm like, oh, this is actually
like what?
So the first thing I'll say is that if you are into any sort of outdoor activities, even if you just like to run, or people who have young children will love it here because there's this place. It's called The Gathering Place. And it is this, I don't even know how to explain it at this point because it's like a park, right? That you would go to. It's got a bunch of different playgrounds, but it's like a park like you've never seen before, or at least I had never seen before. There's a coffee shop with free Wi-Fi. And this is, mind you, this is a park that's free to everyone to use. And there's a place that's like got coffee, free Wi-Fi, right? Plenty of different tables and chairs and places for people to just hang out and sit. And when I say this, I mean like the property is huge. Like there's tons of just like trails, running trails, bike trails. So when there are these pockets for people to hang out and sit, there's tons of them. People host birthday parties there, but also there are these really unique playgrounds. So I had a friend come and stay with me, and she's got she was 6, I think, at the time. She's got a 6-year-old daughter, and we were able to go and just take her there. She never wanted to leave. These are like, their playgrounds are like works of art. Like they each have a different theme. One's medieval, one looks like a giant bird. One is where the kids can go and like play on different like musical instruments, but they're not really instruments. It's like all part of the playground. So there's that aspect of it. And then you go to this area where there's like this structure, and you go inside, and I think you can rent canoes and kayaks, but also there's a museum space, and they do exhibits all the time. And it's all, again, completely free. And then extending out from the kind of main area, there's these, like, I think they're called like the river walk, like trails, but all sorts of trails along the Arkansas River, just beautiful space to just run and hang out. And they have like basketball courts and just like a skate park. Like there's literally everything you can think of. And it's all in this giant kind of outdoor space. So I love it because, I don't always have, say, a running partner to go running with me, but I like to run. But, as a woman, I like to be careful, going running by myself, but there's always people here. There's tons of people. It almost looks like a theme park. Sometimes they have overflow parking where they have to send people down to a parking lot far away because it is just this huge kind of outdoor space. So really cool in that sense. But also downtown, I really like downtown. Now, again, to set expectations, this is not New York City. This is not, this is not even.
It's like the Midwest, the West Midwest. It's very Midwestern, Tulsa is.
Very Midwestern, yes. And definitely has small city vibes, especially when it gets to nighttime and you realize that, like,
welcome to my life. I live in Ohio.
8 p.m., not a sound to be heard.
Everybody in the house.
Yes, everybody's in the house, tucked away. You don't even see people standing in their front yard. But I love downtown Tulsa. I think it's super cute. And I'm somebody that eats very specifically. Like, I'm grain-free, I'm gluten-free, I'm dairy-free. I found some like favorite spots and restaurants that I love, that I will probably always love, but that I didn't even have some of the options that I have. Like when I was in Orlando, there were some places, but I have places that will forever be on my top list of restaurants.
Okay, cool.
let's talk about culture in the view of a melanated person,
Yes.
because I figure I know Tiffany want to jump on this topic really good here.
Uh-huh.
Because maybe the demographic is probably 20% black, maybe. Was it
Yeah.
about 15,
So
20? So how do you feel as a African American female?
yeah.
You're at this gathering spot, or the place you was explaining. You're at the store.
Yep.
You know, you're not in Orlando. Orlando is very melanated. You know,
Yes.
so it's nothing. But you're in the middle of America.
Yep.
Uh, beautiful brown curly haired girl. How are you looked at when you're out and about?
It has been an adjustment. I will say, I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I had a friend, the same friend that I was talking about, who had the daughter who came to visit. She came with me. We went to some restaurants, and it was noticeable, that it's like, we're not in Orlando anymore. We would go to restaurants and literally be the only people of color in there at that time. And it would be a full restaurant full of people, and we're still literally the only ones. And not even a server in sight. And we'd be like, this is really bizarre in that sense of not even necessarily seeing a lot of people that are walking around. And that, like I said, definitely has been a bit of an adjustment for sure. I grew up, so even though a lot of my life I lived in Orlando, Florida, I mentioned I grew up in Virginia. Where I lived in Virginia was very diverse. However, for much of my life, I did go to a private school where most people did not look like me when I was in like elementary school and middle school. So, I have developed being, used to being in spaces where I'm the only one. So it maybe wasn't as jarring for me as it may be for somebody who hasn't, had to force themselves to be in spaces like that before. But it definitely was an adjustment. And, just a couple of weekends ago, I went to Atlanta and
I saw that.
I really did. I came back kind of hanging my head, dragging in my.
Oh yeah, Atlanta ran you ragged, huh? It ran you ragged here, I'm sure.
I missed being around so many other melanated folks. It's really nice. But I will say again, being a part of the program is nice because the people that they're bringing in are very diverse. So if you are going to different opportunities with the program, you will see diverse people, and like I said, I did go out of my way to make sure that I found a group of women. They're called, Melanin Vibes. So their whole thing is people of color being able to come together and find each other in Tulsa. So, doing that has been great, but it is disappointing to see. And especially when you see, given the history of Tulsa, and Black Wall Street being burned down, even though there may be a small percentage of Black people who are here, right? There's still also a noticeable gap, right, in even just the economic status. The haves and the have-nots. The line is very clear, and you do also see that reflected in who is spending time at the nicer restaurants and things like that. And so that's also very disheartening to see, because it's one thing to have a smaller population, and but you still see people sprinkled in and still being able to partake and enjoy themselves, like some of their white counterparts. But it's that much more disheartening when you see the effects, that the long-term effects that have obviously still had an impact on specific communities of color here. I say that also because I knew that going in, coming to Oklahoma, that there was going to be a somewhat large indigenous population too, right?
Yeah, so
I expected to see more of the indigenous population. But again, it's kind of sad to see that I don't really, because in the spaces where I'm in the city, or in the more popular spaces, those are some of the least diverse spaces. And maybe if I go out to some of the areas that are specifically, I know that there's an area that's specifically Cherokee Nation, maybe I will see some indigenous populations, but that was also very disheartening, because even with the lack of diversity, another issue is that it's not necessarily, for lack of a better term, like a melting pot. You know what I mean? Like, still that kind of, okay, yes, if I walk down Black Wall Street and I'm in that historic area, or, going to an event for Black Wall Street, then yes, I will see people who look like me. But when I'm walking around everyday life and, going about my business, it is almost startling, the lack of diversity that I see. So that's been something that, has been definitely an adjustment, like I said, because, I want to see people who look like me, but I also want to see people who look like me that are thriving, that are, leaders in this community, that are doing really great things. And while I do see that, there's obviously space for more of that. And so, the more that I'm here, I want to help to, whatever I build, whatever I touch, I want to also make sure that there's some sort of component that goes back to the communities that are here, especially communities of color, or, communities that have been mostly, affected by the history of Tulsa, for sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's a very interesting aspect. I can relate to what you're saying about going to school where you're one of the only ones. I also went to a PWI high school, all girls Catholic school. And so there were a lot of instances where I was the only one in my classroom, the only one on if they had competition and I was on debate and stuff like that, there were not a lot of people who looked like me. And so I definitely can relate to that. And the idea that even in the regular nice dining spaces or nice park spaces, those communities of color are not ingrained in it as well.
Right.
It's almost purposeful, if you kind of think about it, that they don't feel welcome to go into those spaces. And because where you come from, you don't really consider, if you're welcome there, you just go there because it's part of who you are. Right. And they don't feel welcome to go there. So therefore they don't go into those spaces. And they probably grew up that way. You know what I mean? Where they didn't feel welcome. And so they don't go.
Exactly.
Where you've not experienced that. And so now having to see that and understand it and connect it to their history is, and I mean all people of color. I mean the indigenous population and those of color who live and within and surrounding Tulsa.
Yeah, no, for sure. Again, I had hoped to see, more of that kind of integration, if you will, but it's a sad reminder of the work that still needs to be done. And it's a sad reminder of the difference between, gentrification versus actually going in and changing a community and righting wrongs of the past and uplifting that community, right? Those two things look very different. And so, again, I mean, I'll see different people of all walks of life that are at the different park spaces, but at the same time, it could be so much more. And when you see, it's so obvious how Black Wall Street, still today, right? I can walk down literally the street that remains where there are some of the original buildings. And I just feel that sense of, yes, there are businesses here. Yes, they just put like a new museum here. But does this feel like a center for this community? Does this feel like a space of growth for this community where this community is thriving, the very people who were most affected, right? And I just don't get that sense. And so, I know that there are a lot of efforts, right? Especially with programs like the one I'm a part of, and seeing different efforts go into building up, Black tech and Black tech Wall Street and all these things. So I definitely feel like there is promise, right? There's opportunity. And I think the next 5 years or so, hopefully we'll start to see those shifts. But it really is just going to come down to the work that people put into it. And, what that amounts to. I know there's I think a pending lawsuit right now that's still open with the government and paying those survivors of the Tulsa massacre. and that could speak and that could do volumes depending on the outcome of that. So, we'll definitely see what that amounts.
So did Tulsa Remote do a good job in bringing in more people of color through this program, possibly?
I would say so. I don't know their exact numbers, so I don't want to say anything definitive, but I do know that when I was the interview that I was on, I really appreciated that while the person interviewing me was not a person of color, she mentioned that her partner was, and that they actually had moved here because I think he had gotten into the program, and so they had been a part of the program, and then she ended up working for the program. And so she was very honest with me that, like, wow, obviously, there's moving to middle America is middle America. She was sure to let me know that, like, she being in an interracial couple, like, they still felt safe and comfortable, and that they were able to build enough of a community around them, especially with people in the program and and others, that they felt comfortable. And so I really appreciated her saying that. And I would say my experience is the same, that while yes, certain things are noticeable, I have been able to build up people around me, and to meet people. So it's not like it's a complete desert where I feel completely just isolated. There are enough people here of different backgrounds that I can connect with. And every Tulsa Remote event that I have been a part of, whether it be the staff that works for the organization or the people a part of it, it has always been a very diverse mix of people, which is really great. So I would say so.
Cool,
Jazlyn. We are actually coming to an hour. I told you this show was usually on an hour, but I wanted to end it on a little more funner note.
Yeah.
Talking about all this racial inequalities. It definitely saddens me, but they say we shall overcome. But I wanted to go back to your Instagram because I saw something that I felt a passion for, and I can relate.
Oh Lord.
She to relieve her stress sometimes, she loves to cook.
Yeah.
And
that's what he's going to relate to. Yeah.
Yes. Let's look at these nachos, or was it tacos?
Tacos, yes.
That she created. I said, "Oh, look here. She likes to cook too."
Yes,
And
definitely a stress reliever for sure.
yes, people can't relate to that. Man, I get in the kitchen and I just forget about all my troubles.
Yeah.
And then eat and then go into a coma.
A food
Yes.
coma.
Best combination there.
Give me a little drink on the side. Oh man, nice little Netflix movie. Yeah. So I said she has nothing but nachos on here. That my top two favorite cuisines is Indian food and Mexican food.
Okay.
Love Indian food.
What is the sausage with the yeah.
Yeah. So I'm a big taco person. So this was kind of like a waffle taco. I just kind of rolled up some sausage and different ingredients onto a waffle, and called them waffle tacos. But for me, I think I mentioned earlier, like, I'm big on like healthy food, but like for me, like, even though I'm not having dairy, like, it still has to taste good. So I think that's why I've really like taken to cooking a lot of things, because like I want to be able to enjoy a waffle taco. I just need it without the gluten. So I'll buy my waffle tacos and get to work. But it's definitely been interesting because right now my cooking abilities are limited because I am doing renovations on my home.
Yeah.
My kitchen is kind of a mess right now. So, but whenever I can, I'm still trying to, get in the kitchen. Oh yeah, this is way back. This is probably from years ago, me making some muffins. But what is that?
Okay.
Oh okay. Yeah.
Who does? I'm assuming you took all these images.
I did, yes.
You do a very good job of presentation
Thank you.
of
Thank you.
your whole Instagram. It's very clean and polished.
I
Um,
Thank you.
I saw something too. I said, this is something about her. Are you a Libra?
I am. How did
oh
you know?
Lord.
I knew it. I knew it. I knew it. I knew it.
What gave me
I'm a
away?
Libra too. My
Okay.
birthday is the 15th of October.
Awesome. Okay. I'm the 3rd of October.
Okay.
Too
Okay.
fun.
Yes. It was giving me all Libra vibes on this page. I said, this no, I think one post you said you was turning 30 next month and it was September. And I was like, oh, look, is she a Libra?
Yes.
I said, this is probably why. I'm like, I am digging her page. Like, it's just very creative.
Yeah, it is.
There's attention to detail. Libras are very creatives. We just love beautiful art. Very artistic. Very, we'll overthink some things about just, is it all the details are perfect.
Yes.
I can see the graphic design, digital marketing influence on your Instagram feed. As he's scrolling, I can see how you think of how others consume content when they go to your page, and you're very good at. That's what I mean, the polished presentation, because you're using images in an angle or in a way in which makes you want to click and see what it is to get into the deeper content. So you do a really great job of that.
Thank you. Like both of you, thank you. These are all such compliments. Even realizing the Libra in me. I love it.
I said this young lady is a Libra. I didn't know it.
Maybe you need to add social media manager to your side hustles, because I can see you redoing someone's Instagram or giving them better advice on their Instagram.
When I did the freelance, that was a part of it, and I will say, as much as I love it, sometimes that can be a very time and mentally consuming job. So
yes, it is.
It definitely is very consuming in that way. So
do you model as well?
I don't know. You may see some things on my Instagram where like I did some things for JanSport once, but that was because I had somebody that I worked with in marketing and they ended up working for JanSport. But I don't model, but it's I feel like the line between modeling and creating online content and like all of these things are just like so
blurred. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Travel. Do you travel?
I want to travel more, and I was so proud of myself for making this move here to Tulsa, and that has been like my jumping off point of like, okay, you're an adventurous person, you just moved, to a new place, travel more. But unfortunately, most of the time when I travel, it is for work. I try to make the most of it, but I still need to definitely carve out time to travel for myself. But I do have a camping trip that's coming up that'll be in California, so I'm excited about that. But yeah, cool. I'm trying to be more and more of a travel person.
Okay, so international thoughts, traveling abroad, or
would love to, but baby steps. I still struggle with finding the balance, even just to take time to travel even within the US. So yeah. I definitely have plans, but to go outside of the US, I haven't thus far. I have on my dad that's from the Bahamas. I've always wanted to go there, but just still on the long to-do list.
I got it. Definitely. Go back to the I actually heard you can become a citizen of Bahamas based on your heritage.
Yep. If you have a parent or a grandparent that is from the Caribbean, you can actually have ground, especially in Jamaica. I think Bahamas, I'm not sure, but you can definitely apply for citizenship based upon your paternal or maternal parents or grandparents. You just have to be able to prove that direct lineage to you.
Wow. I
did not know. You can become a dual citizen
Look into
Wow.
that.
And maybe
Yeah.
purchase your next property in the Bahamas. I'm just saying.
Oh my gosh, you guys are just giving me so many ideas. My mind is like already spinning.
Jazz,
I love it.
the future is bright for you, young lady.
Yes,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
love it.
Awesome.
I love it.
Well, we're a few minutes over. Jazz, I can I call you Jazz?
Yeah.
Is that you? Okay. Jazz, it's been a blessing having you here. I appreciate you for taking time out on this Sunday, actually Monday now, you see the podcast. But again, thank you. I am going to include your Instagram, TikTok, any other sites or platforms you're working on, or anything, YouTube.
Nope.
You need to have a YouTube. I like your energy. You have you speak very well, very
Thank you.
eloquent. You're very
so many things.
yeah,
Another thing on the long to-do list.
yeah,
So
I know.
now
It's so
TikTok,
much.
Instagram will have to do.
I feel you,
Right.
Jazz.
You know what? It's so easy. You could take your Instagram reels and make shorts on YouTube.
I know.
Just copy and paste.
The shorts that you're talking about on YouTube is on TikTok. So
Yes, you don't even have to do more content. You can just cut and paste and put them on there.
I know, but again, it's on the list. I'm just now getting to be in the place where I'm, TikTok and Instagram. Sometimes I share content between the two, but just now getting to a place where those are pretty much consistent. So yes,
it's a lot. It's a lot. I'm on all three now, and I'll be anxiety and stress and all that stuff. Trying to keep up with it. But again, thank you so much. If you like this type of content, please share. The likes definitely help out the channel. Parting words, Tiffany. Any sports activities coming up or?
Yeah, I'm doing some meets. I did a meet yesterday.
Did I meet yesterday?
Yeah, I did a meet yesterday.
Oh, wow.
And I have a meet next Saturday, Memorial Day weekend. And I have one in Indianapolis in June. And then July, I head to Eugene, Oregon for the World Championships for a couple of weeks. So excited about that. But you guys can follow me and find me on TikTok and on Instagram at sports_n_heels. Heels as in heels you wear, because she's a girl. You can find me on all of platforms, including TikTok, Twitter, Instagram. And of course, you can find me here every other Monday on Matic Mondays on Travelmatic's YouTube page.
Awesome. Well, I will give you back the.
I'm glad
I told you it was going to be fun. I told you it was going to be fun.
I love you guys. You have a lifelong listener and follower in me. This was great.
We got to get you back on here to get some follow up and
I would love to
see how you really like
that house you bought, that condo you bought in Bahamas.
Yes.
We will definitely be keeping an eye on you and your TikTok and Instagram. So again, I appreciate you. I wish the best to you in your future endeavors. And thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And we're gone, y'all. Take care.
Peace.
We out.